right, so here's the fun part, filling out the application itself. So let's start with first name. And for this example, we will use Jane as the first name. Middle name will be Kim. Last name, Smith. You don't have a suffix. Date of birth, January 1st, 1900. The city that I was born in, we will use Dallas. The country that I was born in was United States. And then the state that I was born in was Texas. My social security number for this example, we will use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. My sex is female. My height is 5'5", even though I was supposed to be 5'10". My hair color is black, and my eye color is brown. Now, ladies, if you wear contacts, they don't need the color of the contacts, they need the color of your real eyes. Occupation, we'll use operations manager. Employer or school, this field is optional. It's not required for you to fill it out, so you're more than welcome to leave it blank. And then click next. Now it wants the street address of where you want to receive your passport. So we will use 123 Dolly Lane, apartment number 32. The city is Irving. Country is United States. The state is Texas, and the zip code is 75063. Now, for those who might be using their work address to receive their passport, this is where you would use the field where it says in care of. So if it's going to your company address, make sure that you list that it needs to have your name on there, so that way whoever receives the mail at your job knows that particular package needs to go directly to you. Now, the next question is this your permanent address? If this is your home address, then you would say yes. If it is not, then you need to click no and list your permanent address. So when you click no, this will pop down and it wants your residence address. So since I gave my residence address above, I'm going to click yes. And then let's scroll down. And now it wants to know my preferred method of communication. It is actually quicker to email me because I get my emails on my phone, and I'm faster at emailing you back versus mail. And so I need to list my email address. So we'll say jane.smith@gmail.com. It wants me to confirm the email address I just typed, just to make sure it matches. And then it wants me to list my phone number, and I will give it my cell and click cell phone. You do have an option to add another phone number if you want to give them your work number or your home phone number. And then click next. Now it wants to know the date of your trip. Okay. At You Deserve Vacations, a good rule of thumb is move your travel dates up by a week to ensure that you get your passport on time. So, for example, I know that I am leaving to go to Jamaica May 27th of this year. So I'm going to move my dates up by a week. So I'm going to tell it that I am traveling on May 20th of this year and returning May 23rd of this year. And then it wants to know the countries I'll be visiting. I'm only visiting one, so I will list Jamaica. And then click next. Now it wants to know who should they contact in case of an emergency with you. They really prefer if it's someone that is not traveling with you. So since I am going on a girls trip, I am going to list my husband as an emergency contact, and his name is John Smith, and he also lives at 123 Dolly Lane, apartment number 32 in Irving, Texas. And they want me to list that person's phone number, which is 972-555-1212. And then they want to know the relationship that you have with that person. So he is my spouse. And then I click next. Now they're asking if I have been issued any of the following. So no, I've never received a passport book. I've never received a passport card. So I would click none and click next. So in this section, now they want to know information on your parents and your spouse, if you do have a spouse. So if you do not have any information on your mother or your father, you can click here where it says unknown, and it'll take those fields away from your application. So for this example, we will use Lisa Smith as my mother. If you notice, they are asking for the date of birth in this the city that your parent was born in, but these are not required fields, which means that you can leave those blank. And my mother was a female and a U.S. citizen. For my father, we will use Chris Smith, and I will leave his date of birth, place of birth blank, since that's not required. He is a male and also a U.S. citizen. And then the next question is, have you ever been married? Yes. And so for my spouse's name, John Smith, and date of birth, 9/6/1912, and he was born in Denton, Texas, and he is a U.S. citizen. Date of most recent marriage, which basically means what day did we get married, and that was May 24th, 2015. And have you ever been widowed or divorced? No, I have not. But if you have, you would click yes, and then you would get an additional field where it's wanting to know the date that you became divorced or the date that you became a widow. So I'll go back and click no, and then click next. And then, are you known by other names? This is for anyone that has been recently married or married before, or a widower. So for those of you that are divorced and you went back to your maiden name, then you'll need to list your married last name. And for those of you that were recently married, you'll need to list your maiden name. It's that simple. And then if you have multiple legal names, then you'll just click the add another name to list those as well. So we will click next. And now we are towards the end, so it's showing me everything that I filled out. I can review it. If I see I need to make changes, I can click on the edit button for whichever section I need to make a change and make that correction. So I'm scrolling down, I'm reviewing, everything looks correct. And then the next thing I click is next. And now there is something that says passport options. So it wants to know if I want the book, the card, or both the book and card. I just want the book, so that's $110 like we talked about before. Then it wants to know about the processing method. We'll do the standard processing because that is typically 4 to 6 weeks for them to process. I want them to deliver this as standard delivery. That will take 3 to 5 days via USPS. And underneath additional fees, there's a file search fee here. And if you click that question mark, it'll tell you that this is an optional fee for any new passport book or card applications without proof of citizenship. So as long as you have your certified copy of your birth certificate, you will not need to check this off. You can skip that fee. And like we talked about earlier, they charge an acceptance fee of $25. So it tells me that the total cost for my application is $135. So now I click next. So now I get to print my application. So I just scroll down and I click where it says I have read and acknowledged the steps and information contained above, which again is just going over what identification you'll need to have with your application, the U.S. citizenship to show proof of that, the recent passport photos, and then the fees that are assessed with the application. So I click create a form. And voila, and all those questions I answered and those fields that I filled out, they've now been populated for me. So everything is completely filled out. So all I have to do is click my print icon to print it out of my printer. Take the application along with my money, my birth certificate, my driver's license or state ID, and go to the nearest acceptance facility or a passport agency. Now, if you're wondering how can you find out which facility is closest to you, it's very easy to do. On this same page, if you scroll back up, you'll see a button that says locate. So this will help you to find where the closest facility is to you. Just put in your zip code, and for this example, we will use 75063, and tell it that you want all facilities within, the default is 10 miles. Let's just say, I just want to see within 25 miles. And then click search. And voila, it gives me a list of all the facilities that are closest to me. If you look towards the right, in the right column, it'll tell you how far it is from the zip code that you entered. One little quick tip as far as submitting your application to the facility, go ahead and give them a call and find out if they accept cash, check, money order, credit card, or debit card for the fees. Tell them that you want to come in and submit your application and ask them what are their payment options and verify with them what all that you need to have in person. So that way when you go, you have everything that is needed and it's a one-stop trip. You do not want to have to make multiple trips. And that's it. You're done.